Hey, what's up, everybody? That Agent Kelly here. And today I'm going to be going over why you need to be leveraging social media for your business. And you need to start pretty much right now. So, if you don't know who I am, I'm a realtor in the Fraser Valley, BC. And before I got into real estate, I was a plumber for 9 years. Found out I absolutely hated that. And I always had a passion for real estate. I would research real estate in my off time. I owned 4 investment properties by the time I was 25. And then I found out that, I knew so much about investing that I just figured if I wanted to go into a sales role, try to increase my income, it only made sense that I would actually go do something that I was already interested in. So I got into real estate and, basically in that first year, I ended up closing 57 transactions right off of social media. And, I was on a team at that time. I think it was about somewhere over 700K in GCI. I paid a lot of that in splits, but again, I had zero expenses, right? Like the only thing I paid for was gas, no marketing, no, didn't pay for any of my listings, anything. So, it was probably similar to a solo agent making about 500 grand in that first year, all off of social media. So, what I found when I was doing plumbing is I was listening to a podcast one day and somebody on this podcast, I don't remember who it was, he basically said something along the lines of this: life is short. Why are you doing so much shit that you hate doing? And then I realized I'm like, yeah, okay, plumbing makes good money. And if I keep doing this, I will be a millionaire in the next 5, 10 years, whatever it was. However, I hate my life. And what is the point of making money if you just hate, basically you sleep 8 hours a day, you work like 10 to 12 plus travel. And then, you get home, you make dinner, you do the dishes, and then it's time for bed every single night. What is the point of making good money if you literally hate your life? Like the whole reason why we make money is so that we can enjoy our lives, right? So after I heard that guy say that, I was like, why am I doing so? What is the point of doing all this shit that I hate doing when I can't even enjoy the money that I'm making, right? So that's when I eventually made that transition into real estate and found out that, I work pretty much just as much doing this, but it's a different type of hard. It's more enjoyable, it's a lot more fulfilling, and the future is always a lot brighter, right? So, starting off, I was making the cold calls. I was doing about 50 to 75 cold calls a day or warm calls. I was just calling like those Google ads where they have to put their information in to get to see the listings. So they're pretty much a cold lead, right? And I was making about 50 to 75 calls a day, door knocking once or twice a week. And I did some deals. I did do deals from that, but I just hated it. Again, I was just like, why am I doing so much shit that I hate doing? I quickly found out, I'm like, yo, I hate this too. I don't want to do this either. So, August of 2021, I started doing TikTok. And about a month and a half after posting 3 to 5 videos a day, I ended up going to a pre-sale center. I booked 7 appointments from one video and sold 4 units in like an hour. And when I started running the math, I was like, dude, that's like 6 months of plumbing in an hour, right? So I I started basically just doubling down on the social media thing. I started posting more. I started a YouTube channel. I started a podcast. I started posting on Instagram. And I just really, really doubled down on the social media, covered my ends across multiple platforms, and increased the volume, increased the quality, increased everything. And by the end of that first year, like I said, I had closed 57 transactions, and maybe only 12 of those came from like Sphere, referral, that kind of thing. And everything else was brand new clients right off of social media. So, why should you use social media, right? Everybody talks about it. Some people say it doesn't work. Some people, say it really works. Uh, the main thing, in my opinion, is leverage. What is leverage? Well, leverage is when your inputs equal exponentially more than your outputs. Output is the effort you put in. Input is the reward that you receive, right? So, leverage is basically when the reward you receive is exponentially more than the effort that you're putting in. That is leverage. And this is basically how any business works. Your business, my business, any business right across the board. So you have 3 parts. You have marketing, sales, and fulfillment. And just to give you guys like a visual of how this works, right? Let's say you're running an ad to refinance your mortgage, right? Click to get a list of the cheapest rates on the market. They sign up. When you call them, you're moving them down to the sales bucket, right? And if they want to do it, now you're moving them down to fulfillment. You're going to fulfill on the service that you offered here in sales, and then you're going to make money. What a lot of realtors do and a lot of mortgage brokers who have been in the business for a while, you hear this all the time, right? Oh, all my business is repeat referral. I don't need to cold call or door knock anymore or any of these things. And basically what these agents did is they did some marketing for the first couple years and they got a bunch of clients and they fulfilled on the service so well that they basically outsourced the marketing to the client and the client went and marketed their business for them. You can do this and it works. The issue with doing it like this is if you actually look at a lot of agents that operate their business like this, they've been in the industry for 10 plus years. So it can be done, but understand that it's going to take a very long time to get there. If you want to scale your business in 2-3 years, if you want to be at multiple six figures in 2-3 years, you're going to have to do marketing. Marketing is the only way to basically scale a successful business very, very fast. And in fact, marketing is the only part of this funnel that you can't skip, right? Like, as an example, you could be really, really good at marketing to the point where by the time somebody reaches out to you, they're already sold on using you to provide the service. And in fact, like this is the bulk of my transactions here. The bulk of my transactions, I don't do any sales at all. They're already sold as they were inside the marketing bucket. As they were following me on these platforms and watching my content, they've already been sold on my opinions, my ideologies, why they should do something, what they shouldn't do, all of these things. So by the time they reach out to me, literally we skip this entire part of the funnel and we just go right down to fulfillment. And that's the beautiful thing about social media, right? Now, here's the other thing about marketing is you may not even have to do sales or fulfillment and still make a bunch of money, right? Like you can go right from marketing and just refer out the lead and take 50%. Or you can go right from marketing and then just run a team of agents. Like there are a lot of agents in the States, probably in Canada too, that run really, really successful YouTube channels where they don't do any fulfillment or any sales. The leads just come in from the YouTube. They're already sold from the marketing. And these leads just get round robined off to people on their team who then fulfill on the service, right? So marketing is the only part of this funnel that you should be doing pretty much all the time, no matter what business you're running. Another great example of this is Jake Paul, right? Jake Paul, shit boxer, just fought Mike Tyson, made $40 million. It was probably the shittiest boxing fight ever witnessed on live TV. Again, his fulfillment was shit. He didn't have to sell it. He just did a lot of marketing and that resulted in $40 million, right? So, any business, any realtor, mortgage broker, doesn't matter who it is. If you just focused like pretty much all your effort on just this bucket, you would be making hundreds of thousands of dollars because everything else, like even if you're the crappiest salesperson ever, if your marketing was good, you probably wouldn't even have to do sales, right? You could just go right from marketing down to fulfillment. Now, I talked about leverage earlier 2 slides ago. This is why I like social media. So cold outreach, which is, we don't really have it in Canada. I would call those Google leads are probably the closest thing we have to cold outreach. Door knocking would be cold outreach. Doesn't cost anything. Very low cost. You look at content marketing, social media, very low cost. Ads are high cost, right? You look at the time cold outreach takes. It takes a lot of time to sit there and call 50 to 75 people a day. How much time does content take? It takes a lot of time. Now, me today, it doesn't take very much time at all because I've gotten so much more efficient at it. But in the beginning, it took a lot of time, right? Ads doesn't take very much time at all. Once you set up the campaign and it's running, you're getting leads every day without doing anything, right? Cold outreach, the speed for which you can start making money is very fast. The speed in content marketing, extremely slow, right? Maybe 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 2 years, right? It takes a long time to get your content marketing to the point where it's spitting out a consistent lead flow. Ads, very fast, right? If you're running ads for refinances or pre-construction condos or whatever it is, you can literally sell somebody on that tomorrow, right? It's extremely fast. Now we look at compoundability, cold outreach. There is no compoundability. There's compoundability in the fulfillment, right? So like if a lead comes in and you manage to bring that lead down to sales and close them and then provide such a good service that they then give you a referral, the compoundability is in the fulfillment. The compoundability is not in the cold outreach itself, right? there's no way that you can receive more than the efforts that you're putting out in cold outreach, right? The inputs will always be in direct proportion to the outputs. Content marketing, I'll come back to this, ads. There's no compoundability in ads. A lot of people think that there is. It's actually a misconception, right? Because what ends up happening is that if you want more leads every month, you have to increase the ad budget. You have to spend more money, right? So again, the inputs equals the outputs. And in fact, the more money that you spend on ads, the less profitable they actually become, right? Like the margins are super high if you're spending $1,500 a month, but if you're to spend 10 grand a month, those margins start to get really compressed because you have to target a wider base of people, and therefore the targeting becomes less targeted, right? So the inputs will never equal more than the outputs. Again, there's compoundability if your sales is amazing. There's compoundability if your fulfillment is amazing. There's compoundability if all of these leads go into a CRM and then you're retargeting them with a newsletter. But again, the newsletter is actually content marketing, because what are you doing when you send out an email? You're creating content, right? So again, there's no compoundability in the ads. You can make ads compoundable if you improve your sales and your fulfillment, but there is no actual compoundability directly in ads, right? Now, onto content marketing. There's tons of compoundability, right? So perfect example, when I first started creating content, my videos would get about 500 views. That was my input for my output. Today, there's no video that I post that doesn't get at least 6,000 to 8,000 views across multiple platforms. So, my inputs that I receive have basically 10 to 20x from when I first started. I'm still putting in the same amount of effort, probably even less today, but my inputs are 10 to 20 times higher than they were when I first started. So it's slow. It takes a lot of time, but as the years pass, you will start receiving exponentially more inputs for the amount of outputs that you're putting out. And this is why I love social media, because I don't care if it takes 5 years for me to get to where I'm going. All I want is that my life becomes easier every year. I want to put in less effort to receive more every single year I'm in business. And that's what social media provides for you. So here are some other reasons why you should be on social media. So number one, in the new day and age, attention is currency. And I would argue that it's always been like this. We just didn't really know how to explain it, right? Like when you door knock somebody or you cold call somebody, you're essentially convincing them to give you their attention, right? Hey, how's it going? Yeah, a couple minutes here. I just got some information I wanted to divulge to you, blah, blah, blah. You're asking for their attention, right? And the thing is, when we talk about attention, right? If you look at like any industry, like Conor McGregor is the highest paid UFC fighter of all time. He's not even in the top 5 when it comes to skills and accolades and all these things, but he's the highest paid. Why? Because he garners the most attention when he steps in the ring, right? And then there's overvalued and undervalued attention. Now, people always get mad at me when I talk about this, but this is objectively the reality, right? When you pay $800 a month to flyer 3,000 properties or whatever it costs to send out a flyer, right? Somebody's going to get that flyer. They're going to look at it. They're going to see your face, and they're probably going to recycle it. And your reach was 3,000. Cost you $800 to send that to 3,000 people. That, yes, it works. Yes, you're getting attention, but the amount of money you're paying for that attention is too expensive. It's overvalued attention, right? If you have a sign, a bus bench, or, a billboard or whatever, the driver is watching the road and the person in the passenger seat is on their phone. And the thing about the attention that's happening on the phone is it's literally free, and you can get way more attention. You can reach way more people for free. If it's video, they can connect with you. They remember the way that you made them feel. They understand your personality. They see your mannerisms, all these things that they wouldn't get from a flyer or a billboard. So not only is there more attention for less money, the attention is also going deeper and connecting a lot better, right? So, in my opinion, it's like if you're investing, you're buying stocks, you're buying real estate, you always want to buy an asset that's undervalued. Well, when it comes to attention and marketing, you should also be focusing your efforts on, the areas that are undervalued, right? You're getting more for what you're putting in, right? And then supply and demand, right? So, there is a lot of demand for content, and that demand is only going to increase, right? And this is why so many businesses are now taking their businesses onto social media because, I foresee a time where social media could actually charge you to start putting out content. Like, why wouldn't they? Like the fact that I can go on YouTube and get paid to market my own business. Like my AdSense is $200 this month. I'm getting paid $200 to market my own business. Like, isn't that insane? That's an insane concept. And I just did 2 deals this week off my YouTube. So, I made like 20 something thousand dollars in real estate, and then they paid me $200 to make $20,000, right? If Facebook wanted to come and charge me $500 a month to market my own business, I have to pay it. And it would still be cheaper than almost any other form of marketing, right? But to give you an example of why I'm talking about this supply and demand, when TikTok first came out, everyone was shitting on it. Everyone was like, oh, that's a dancing app for 17-year-olds. You can't sell homes on there. It's only the young people on this app, and like everything everybody was saying. And now it's more socially acceptable as like a business platform. But back then when I started, this is what everybody was saying. What I understood from listening to Gary Vee was that all these content consumers moved over to TikTok, but all the creators that were on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, all these other platforms didn't want to take the time to learn how to use TikTok and move their business over to TikTok and spend time creating content on that app. So you had all these people creating content. And then what you had is all these new content creators emerge on TikTok that were willing to learn it. And they all blew up, got millions of views, hundreds of thousands of followers. And then only after that happened, you had all these other creators come over. And the reason why that happened is supply demand imbalance. You had all these people consuming the content, you had very few people actually creating the content. So it's very easy for your video to show up on somebody else's feed. That's less of the case today on TikTok. The reason why this is important is people always talk about, oh, what's the best time of day to post and blah, blah, blah. Well, some of my most viral videos I post at 11 p.m. at night. And the reason why is, yes, there's less people awake consuming the content. There's also less people awake creating the content, right? So the time of day thing doesn't really matter. Everything operates, attention trades exactly like money on supply and demand. Number 4, leverage, which we covered. And number 5, I just hated outbound prospecting. I didn't think it was sustainable for me to do it. I didn't see myself doing it consistently every single day. And there's no point in doing something that you can't consistently do for the rest of your life. Like, I know if I go do P90X, I'll be shredded in the next 90 days. But the second I stop doing P90X, I'm not going to be shredded anymore. So what's the point of doing it at all, right? Consistency will always beat intensity. And if that's not something that I thought I could do every day, there's no point in doing it at all. So here's some reasons why you probably already aren't using social media that I'm going to hopefully handle. You are scared what people think. So here's a couple, tips, right? Number 1, you're scared of, the rejection of your peers being like, oh, who does David think he is? Right? Now he's a content creator. He looks stupid. He sounds dumb. That's inauthentic. What ends up happening is people have a version of you that they've created inside their head. The second you start doing things that are incongruent with the current version of you that they've created, to them, it looks like you're being fake. You're not being yourself. You're being inauthentic. What ends up happening is after 3 months of consistent posting, they just reinvent a new version of you inside of their head. And then there's no reason to talk shit anymore because now that is David. That's what David does. David creates content. Right? He's not being fake. That's who he is, right? And then the second thing is, if you can't get past this, start by creating content on platforms where these people that you are worried about are not, right? So if you go start a brand new YouTube channel, none of these people who you're worried about their criticism are going to be following you on that platform. If all of your friends and family are on Instagram and Facebook, start on TikTok. Get your content to a point where you're proud of it. It's getting engagement. It has followers. It has a community. And then start reposting it on Instagram and all these other apps. Because at that point, it's like, well, if they're going to hate on it now, well, I already have these 2,000 people over here who actually like my content. So, if you're hating on it and you don't like it, that's a you problem, right? And then we have this quote here. Love this quote. Not going to read the whole thing. You can Google it. It's called The Man in the Arena by Theodore Roosevelt. And basically goes something like this. Who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. At least if you tried, you would know what defeat feels like, instead of not knowing what victory or defeat feels like. The people, the timid souls who are hating on you, are the same people saying LeBron James is a shitty basketball player as they pay for their $50 tickets in the nosebleeds. Their opinions, they don't have the balls to do what you're doing. They lack the balls to post on social media. It's like somebody getting into a fight and losing the fight. At least they had the balls to stand for what they believe in and enter hand-to-hand combat with somebody. Most people don't have the balls to do that. At least you have the balls to post on social media. They don't. They're hating from the nosebleeds. So their opinion is completely irrelevant. Number 2 reason why is you don't know what to post. I'll help you with that. Tell a story. These are some of my most viral pieces of content. Anecdotal stuff happening in the market. Oh, I got my client approved for this, or oh, we were trying to sell this house and 2 months ago it was dead and now the open house had 50 pairs of shoes in it. Stuff like that goes really, really well. Also stuff that's happened to you in your past, right? Share some of the things like, I shared that I was a plumber at the very beginning of this video. Why? Because some of you will probably connect with that, right? But also, whenever you tell a story, you always want it to be structured like story, the lesson you learn from the story. So the viewer can always take value away. If you don't share the lesson, sometimes it seems self-serving, being like, why am I listening to this guy's story? I don't give a shit. Who is he? Well, if you have a lesson at the end, then nobody can say that, right? Neighborhood videos. This might be more of a realtor thing, right? If you don't understand the macroeconomic environment of Canadian real estate, the bond market, interest rates, or any of these things, don't talk about it. People are going to call you out. Your viewers know a lot more about it than you, trust me. But what you do have authority to speak on is where you live. If you've lived in Surrey your whole life, talk about Surrey, right? Somebody who lives in Port Coquitlam doesn't know anything about Surrey, so you have authority to speak on that, right? And some examples would be top 3 best areas in Surrey, top 3 restaurants in Surrey, Surrey versus Vancouver, cost of living in Surrey. There's millions of these videos on YouTube that you can copy and just remake them in short form. Property tour videos. These are the single-handed best videos for realtors. I've seen them work really, really well for mortgage brokers as well, but just framed differently. So, you would break down the mortgage amount on that property for people as opposed to just showing them the property, right? This is basically the same as running a conversion ad on Facebook ads, except you're doing it for free and building your brand at the same time. So these are absolutely amazing. If you just shot one of these a day, your life would be completely different in about 60 days. Green screen videos. You've probably seen these if you follow me on TikTok or Instagram. It's usually an article of a regulation change, something crazy that happened, or it might be a pre-sale, right? I've sold many, many pre-sales, just green screening a rendering of that pre-sale and then talking about it. The thing I love about these is that articles are written by copywriters. They're written by people who know how to write. And their headlines are engineered and proven to garner massive attention. They make you want to read the article once you read the headline. So if you green screen an article and you literally just reread the headline, well, that headline has been engineered to grab somebody's attention. So you're basically piggybacking off of somebody else's skill who's way better at that skill than you are. And that's why these are amazing. They work absolutely insane. Market stats, updates, news, regulation changes. Again, if you do these with green screen, they work amazing. Listicle videos, top 3 this, top 5, top 7. Always recommend that you use an odd number. There is science behind this, science and data. That's why if you go on YouTube, pretty much every single listicle video is usually an odd number. They seem to grab attention a lot better. And I'll even, if like the sales ratios for Surrey condos are up 32%, I'll even do 33% or 31% on my video. And just, it was a mistake. I must have read it wrong. Just because I know the odd number is going to get more attention than the even number. Pros and cons, top 3 pros and cons, top 4, top 5 pros and cons. Pros and cons of buying a pre-sale, pros and cons of going fixed mortgage, pros and cons of going variable mortgage, stuff like that. Rip off and duplicate. I think we've all heard this before, but there's a way to do it. I will rip off and duplicate somebody else's idea. So somebody makes a video on a topic that I've seen go viral that I know there's demand for within the market of consumers. I will make that same video, but from my perspective and the way that I view it, right? So if you're going to copy somebody's idea, it should be your own opinion on that idea, right? You don't need to come up with new content. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. You don't need to have this ridiculously philosophical new idea that nobody's heard of. just talk about stuff that you already know there's demand for within these apps, right? Because all the algorithm does is it basically serves content that they know that there's demand for, and give your perspective on it. So here's the other group of people, right? You don't think you need it because your business is already successful, right? So I'll tell you a story. I had a mentor, Wes Watson. Some of you might know him. And he has a saying where he's basically like, the purpose of life is to become the best version of yourself and give that person to the world. I had a video that I did where basically I was like, I talked about quitting smoking, and this video went crazy viral, got like 900,000 views. And then I got one or two messages where somebody was like, hey man, I watched your video on smoking and I think it might have saved my life, right? I think I'm going to quit. I think this video might have actually saved my life. So I thought that was interesting. And I ran the statistics. I don't remember them off the top of my head, but it was like 60%, or it was like 30% of people in the States. I don't remember. Regardless, there was like 90,000 people who will die of smoking cigarettes in the US, right? It was something like that. And then I thought, well, if 90,000 people, it was 90,000 people who watched my video will die of smoking cigarettes, because it was like some large portion of the population smokes cigarettes. And then I ran the numbers and broke it down based on how many people watched the video. I was like, okay, there's this many people who smoke who watch the video. And of the people who smoke, this is how many die. That number ended up being 90,000. 90,000 people who watch my video will die from smoking cigarettes. And when you break that down on a probability basis, it is literally impossible that that video didn't save someone's life, right? Out of 90,000 people who watched that video, if like, what percentage of them quit smoking? And I think the actual percentage is like 1.7% of people only actually quit smoking. So even if you had 1.7% of people, that's 900 people of the people who watch that video will quit smoking. And then what percentage of those people quit because of that video? That video could have saved tens of lives, which is insane to think about, right? The impact that you have on social media that basically scatters throughout society is insane, right? And when I think about it, like the guy who said, stop doing shit that you hate doing, there was another one that I heard. It was Jordan Peterson. And I know everybody hates Jordan Peterson now, but back then nobody hated him. And I was watching a podcast that he did, and he basically said, he's like, stop doing shit that you know you shouldn't be doing. Imagine where you would be if you just cut it out. And at that time I was smoking, drinking, doing drugs, doing everything in between. I ended up quitting everything like 2 weeks later after watching that video. I couldn't get it out of my head. I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I've been sober since. That was May 9th, 2020. I was still plumbing. And in 4 years, my life I would never have imagined it getting to where it is right now. And that all stemmed from me hearing that guy say one sentence 4 years ago. So you have the potential to change people's entire lives, the entire trajectory of their life with one sentence on social media. And what's crazy is I already know I've done this because people have told me this in person. People have told me this in confidence. I get calls all the time, people trying to quit drinking and stuff like that, because I talk about that in my content. And here's the thing. A lot of you are making 500 grand, $1 million a year. You already have become the person that the younger version of you would admire and look up to. You haven't started giving that person to the world. If the purpose of life is to become the best version of yourself and give that person to the world, which I think is the purpose of life, personally, you could believe that or you could not, well then you're not doing the second part of the purpose of life. You've already created that person, but you're not giving them to the world, right? So yeah, maybe you don't need to do social media to sell more real estate or sell more mortgages, but maybe you should do social media to live a fulfilling life and have impact, right? So here's the thing. Building a personal brand, 2 birds, 1 stone. The way I look at this, my primary goal, maybe not right now, but in the beginning, was to build a personal brand. It's almost like I'm building a media company as my primary business. And the result of me running that business successfully, indirectly, I get to sell more real estate, right? I'm putting out so much content. I'm recognized as a content creator, but these people that follow me also know I'm a realtor. Indirectly, because of my success as a content creator, I get to sell more real estate. But one day, I'm not going to want to sell real estate. One day, I'm going to want to do something else. And I'm going to have this personal brand that I can then leverage to do whatever the hell I want, right? Whether it's, I have a dream of like starting a cigar company, right? All I'd have to do is smoke those cigars and every piece of content I put out, and they would start selling. People would start wondering where the hell I'm getting those, right? So building a personal brand, it's a great exit plan 10, 15 years down the road where you have 50,000, 60,000, 80,000 followers. Now you can plan your exit, right? Like I started a coaching company where I teach people how to use social media. And, that's making six figures now. And that requires very little of my time. My outputs or my inputs are exponentially higher than my outputs because I have the personal brand. The marketing's already there. I don't really need to focus that much on trying to acquire clients for that business, right? Because of the personal brand. So it's like, if you're going to sell real estate or mortgages, why not just kill two birds, one stone and build the personal brand and indirectly sell mortgages and real estate via how successful you are at building the personal brand? Because that allows you to pivot later, right? And, one of the oldest, I guess, marketing rhetorics in the book is like, you need to find a niche and you need to pick out an avatar. I agree with it to a certain extent, but also I think you are the niche, right? When you create content and you just talk about you and give your opinions and your perspectives on things, what ends up happening is you just attract people that are like you, right? You are the avatar. You are the niche. You're making content to you, right? A lot of the videos I put out is just the content that I wish I had when I was in my early 20s. Because nobody is making content about Canadian real estate. Nobody's making content about stopping drinking. Nobody's making content about you should quit your job and get into a sales role and increase your income. That came later, but in 2016, nobody was doing it, right? So I wish that content was there. I wish there was somebody like me here in Canada putting out that content. So the niche, the avatar is me like 6 years ago, 7 years ago, right? If you just put out content that is you and your thoughts and your opinions, you will attract people who are like you. You don't need to think about, you don't need to like box yourself into like, this is my niche. I'm only going to make content related to this, right? You could, but you don't have to. Now, the way to be successful on social media, volume. Post every single day. The more you post, the better. I post once on Instagram, twice on TikTok, and then, a couple of YouTube videos a week, depending on my week and how busy I am, but minimum one a week. Try to do 2 or 3 a week. And, that equates to 3 to 5 videos a day type of thing, right? But if you just did one a day, every single day, you never missed 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, you will have built an asset that spits out leads consistently that doesn't cost you any money, right? Be consistent. 3, mindset. Consistency and mindset go hand in hand. The second you're not consistent anymore, it's going to completely screw up your mindset. It's like going to the gym, missing 3 days in a row. It's exponentially hard to get back into it on the 4th day. And even when you go back on that 4th day, now your routine's completely screwed up. It's a lot easier to talk yourself out of going in the future after that 4th day. So if you just post every single day and you never miss, then you never have that battle in your head about, oh, should I post today? Should I not post today? Oh, but it just doesn't happen. There's no negotiation. You just post every day and that's what happens. Trial and error. The more you post, the more trial, the more error, the more you start to figure out what works and what exactly you need to be posting. I know there's videos that I make that will go viral before I even post them because I've made so many videos exactly like this video that have gone viral, right? Like I know there's videos that like I could just Google Vancouver real estate, pick out an article, and be like, okay, this is a viral article. I'll talk about this. And it'll probably go viral, right? You got to have an opinion. So many people try to like play their life in the middle. They don't want to offend anybody. They don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And I know you've heard this before. The personal brand is the accumulative opinions and perspectives on things. People don't follow you for information. Information is free. It's a commodity. It's everywhere. It doesn't have value anymore. There's no value in the information unless you're saying something ridiculous that nobody's heard, but the chances of that are extremely small. People follow you for your perspective on the information. The information is free. It's everywhere. It's useless. People don't know how to use it. What they want is, how do I use this information? So when you give your opinion and your perspective on that information, that's how they know how to use the information or look at the information or interpret the information. So every single video I structure looks like this. piece of information, opinion on the information. Do not post Bank of Canada rate cut unless you have an opinion about the rate cut, because it's going to do absolutely nothing for you. Hey, Bank of Canada just dropped the interest rate 0.5. Likely they're probably going to cut in the next meeting. We should see some increased buyer demand, but this is all your opinion, right? And if it doesn't have your opinion, then it should be entertaining. So if there's no opinion, it needs to be entertaining. If it's a story, there should be a lesson. If there's a story and no lesson, then it has to be story and entertaining. So it it has to have lesson, opinion, or it has to be entertaining. And if it doesn't have those three things, it's a useless piece of content that's probably going to do absolutely nothing for your business, right? Do not share just information alone unless it's entertaining or there's an opinion. And again, how often to post? We talked about that. Now, like I said, if you guys want to contact me, reach out to me on my Instagram, reach out to me on TikTok. You can email me, anything. And in the rest of this course, I'm going to be going over how to actually post and how to get your start.